What's the worst thing you've ever heard a teacher say at school? Story 1. Chemistry teacher that got annoyed easily with my class specifically. All right, fuck this. You're all going to fail this exam. People in my class would never shut up, and it was the last week of school, so he was just done with us.
I can understand the teacher. I was in pretty much the same situation. One year our class was so bad, the teacher left after that year to go to another school in another city.
Story 2. Age of 9, lost my father in a terrifying accident. I returned to school a few days later, and after attendance was taken, the teacher said to me in front of the class, "The class got together and sent flowers to your father's funeral. I paid your share, so make sure you bring in $2 tomorrow, as I need to be paid back." She then went on with the lessons. I asked to see the school nurse and was sent home. Once home, I told my mother. Returning to school 2 days later, I never saw the teacher again. I don't know how my mother handled it. Story 3. An English literature teacher once told my class, polar bears almost exclusively eat penguins. I was not good at literature, but I was good at science subjects, and I was not this teacher's favorite pupil. So when she said this, I quite quickly argued back, saying that she was wrong. She protested, and I explained that polar bears live in that Arctic Ocean, and while there are various species of penguin, none of them live in the northern hemisphere. This was an open argument during class, and she offered to Google the answer. So she did, and when I was proven correct by the internet, she sent me out the class.
As a teacher, this made me mad. If a kid proves me wrong, I openly admit it and give them kudos for doing it. Throwing a kid out because they stood up for what they know is right because you're too insecure to let a teenager prove you wrong is the kind of thing that makes kids hate school.
Story 4. Not really the worst, but once in high school, my teacher legitimately asked the blind girl in our class why she wasn't going up to check her grade on the grade sheet.
I have a friend with bilateral cochlear implants. That is, he was born deaf and still has less than average hearing with the implants. Well, back in high school, he was in several of my classes. Stand-up guy, really nice. Anyway, one day, one of our teachers asks him some banal question. Here's a transcript of the following interaction. Friend.
What?
Teacher repeats question. Friend.
Sorry. What?
Teacher jokingly.
What, are you deaf or something?
Friend.
Yes?
Teacher looks horrified. Entire class and friend start dying laughing. Teacher apologizes profusely. Luckily, she was actually a super nice lady and basically forgot my friend was, in fact, deaf without his implants.
Story 5. How dare you write that? You're practically emotionally handicapped, said to me at 12, not even half a year after my mom passed away. She made us write an essay about our home life, which in retrospect was a up excuse to snoop into my situation, and didn't like how I used humor to cope, so she pulled me out of the class to yell at me for 5 minutes for not being sad enough. I don't even remember what I wrote besides cracking some jokes about my dad's outfits. Story 6. This wasn't said directly to me, but in middle school I had a teacher grab me from the lunch table and drag me to the principal's office. After grilling me for a while and telling me I know what I did, they finally revealed to me that the teacher stated she witnessed me suggestively sucking my thumb while staring at a female friend of mine. I was just biting my nail.
I had something kind of similar happen. I moved from Ohio to Iowa during middle school. One day I was wearing an Ohio State Buckeyes shirt. One of my teachers grabbed me and put me to principal's office. When I asked what was going on, she told me I knew exactly what I did. I had no idea what she was talking about. At the principal's office, she finally explained how I was wearing a marijuana t-shirt. The reason being that the Buckeyes logo is sometimes just a buckeye leaf with or without a nut. After I quickly explained, my teacher called me a liar. Then the principal just kind of sighed and told me I could go back to class and the teacher needed to stay behind. He clearly knew I was in the right. I got a half-hearted apology from her later.
Story 7. When I was 12, my teacher said my knitting had too many errors in it. It had 4. And cut it to shreds. I was supposed to start all over again, but excused myself and went to the bathroom where I cried for the rest of the lesson.
One time we were drawing this part of a photo we saw in art class with a pencil and paper. And my friend wasn't very good at drawing, so the art teacher took it from him and yelled something along the lines of it being a really bad drawing, and crumpled it up in front of him and the whole class. This was in grade 5 or 6, and of course my friend started crying.
Story 8. When I was about 9, our teacher asked the class what we wanted to be when we grew up. One kid said he wanted to be a bin man, a garbage man, for U.S. readers. The teacher went into a rant, saying that jobs like these were for the lowest, most unintelligent people in society, and that he should aspire to be better than that. Finally, she asked why he wanted to be a bin man anyway. "Because my dad's one," said the kid, by now in tears. Story 9. Okay, I have one. When I was in elementary, I got confused at lunchtime and threw my food out early and wandered outside for recess alone. Realizing my mistake and having no idea what to do, I went back inside and told a lunch lady and asked what I should do. She put me by the arm to the center of the lunchroom with a live microphone and informed everyone of my mistake and how no one should do what I did because it was a bad, bad thing. She told everyone I was going to get expelled. I was sobbing at that point. I kept asking her what expelled meant, but she didn't answer me. All I knew was that it was a bad thing. I never told my mom until years later. And no, I didn't get actually expelled.
This sounds like a deleted scene from Matilda. I mean, who gives a lunch lady a live microphone?
Story 10. Male teacher was talking about the dress code to me and a friend of mine during lunch. He stated he doesn't like seeing a bunch of fatties in short shorts, but then gestured towards a thin girl in short shorts walking up the step and said, "But that I don't mind."
Had a girl at my school get in huge trouble for her dress one day. It didn't break the dress code on her, and another girl was wearing the exact same dress, and it did break it for her. The girl in trouble asked why she was the one being disciplined. Because she looks good in it.
Story 11. Not the worst thing ever, but definitely the worst advice. In high school, there was a subject I really liked. It was called Informatics 2, but it was mostly basics of graphic design and creative digital stuff in general. I was really inspired for a project we had to do, and really excelled in it. Made a green screen at home, did some advanced video editing. It was through the roof. The professor, Mr. V, who was in charge on that subject, loved it. Gave me an A+, showed it to other groups of students. Later I was told he would show that video presentation to future students as an example of a well-done project. The other professor, Miss M, who taught the same subject, but not to my group, met me a few days later in the hall and told me, "I saw what you did for Professor V's class. Congratulations, it's very good, but you shouldn't have done it." Why? "You've raised the bar for everyone else. So somebody who would have gotten an A+ could now get a B or less." I actually took it as it is, and it kinda stupid for a while. Wish I could go back in time and tell her to get off. I'm not in charge of grading, and I've got the right to excel as much as I want. Actually, there was no grading on a curve in high school, so there was really no need for her to have that attitude. She was probably thinking I raised the bar in a way that Professor V would now expect more from other students, or something. I wasn't thinking about that at all in advance. It was maybe the only class I really enjoyed that semester. I just wanted to have fun. Story 12. My design and technology teacher really resented that I had very little interest in her subject. She asked me what I wanted to do when I left school. I told her I was going to do something with music. I was in all the school bands, orchestras, choirs, etc., and played piano at grade 8 level. She told me to be successful at that someone had to be either extremely talented or very hardworking, and that I was neither. Story 13. Congratulations, you're a marriage of Dumbos made in heaven. I had a teacher in elementary school who after every test would pick the lowest scoring girl and lowest scoring boy in the class and force them to hold hands, perform a brief marriage ceremony on them in front of the laughing class, without the kissing part, and have all the other kids sing, "Here Comes the Bride." Then she'd have the two kids sit together at the side of the classroom for rest of the lesson, and they weren't allowed to stop holding hands until bell rang. The answer is yes. That did happen to me. 3 weeks was about how long the jocks lasted, and 6 years was roughly how long me and the groom avoided speaking to each other after that out of residual jocks. This was around the early 00s. I'm not from the US. I didn't tell my parents. I honestly didn't think it was such a huge giant deal. Kids get punished all the time, right? I'm from a culture where teachers are considered authority figures to be respected, so no adult would have defended us. Story 14. Woodshop teacher telling an Asian kid he doesn't really need to wear a face shield on the lathe. You know, because of the eyes. He meant it as a joke, but even at 15 we all kind of hushed and looked at each other like, dude, did he just say that?
The worst my shop teacher ever said was we were welcome sniff the glue or paint. B described what it does and how easy it is to pass away from it, but said it wasn't his place to stop.
Thank you for watching till the end, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.